I thought 10 years was enough time to disappear. I changed my name, I moved to a town that doesn't even show up on GPS. I worked with my hands until they were calloused and bloody, just to forget the feeling of silk and the scent of expensive perfume. But as the black SUV rolled to a stop outside my porch, I realized something terrifying. Money doesn't just buy things, it buys people. And Clara, she never learned how to let go of her favorite toy. But what she was carrying in her hand, that was the real reason I should have run the second I saw those headlights. Before we dive into how a ghost from the past can ruin a man's future, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We tell stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Now, let's go back to where it all began. My life was simple, and simple was safe. In this town, I was just Joe. I fixed roofs, I drank my coffee black, and I didn't talk about the past. My neighbors didn't know I once wore suits that cost more than their houses. They didn't know I was the right-hand man to Clara Thorne, one of the most powerful men in the country. And they definitely didn't know I was the man who broke his daughter's heart to save her life. 10 years ago, I walked away from a billion-dollar empire. I left behind the private jets, the galas, and the woman I loved more than breath itself. I did it because I saw the darkness behind the Thorne family curtain. I saw what they did to people who knew too much. I thought I was the only one who escaped. I was wrong. The knock wasn't loud. It was steady, confident. When I opened the door, the smell of Chanel No. 5 hit me like a physical blow. It was Clara. She looked older, sharper, but those eyes, they still had that same desperate fire. "Hello, Leo," she whispered. Hearing my real name felt like a death sentence. I didn't invite her in. I didn't even move. I just looked at her, waiting for the catch. Because with the Thornes, there is always a catch. "You need to leave," I said, my voice sounding like gravel. "I can't," she replied, stepping into my space. "Because he's dead, Leo. My father is dead, and he left everything to you."
But it wasn't the inheritance that made my blood run cold. It was the way she looked behind her at the dark woods. Inside, the air felt heavy. Clara explained that her father's heart had finally given out, or so the public thought. But the everything he left me wasn't just money. It was a ledger, a physical record of every bribe, every crime, and every person the Thorne family had ever erased. "He knew you were the only one with a conscience," Clara said, her voice trembling. "He knew you were the only one who wouldn't use it for blackmail. But the board, they think I have it, and they're coming for me." Suddenly, the isolation of my cabin didn't feel like a sanctuary. It felt like a trap. Every rustle of the wind outside sounded like a footstep. Every shadow looked like a hitman. I looked at the woman I once promised to protect, and for a second I felt that old spark. Then I noticed the bruise on her wrist, a bruise that looked exactly like a handprint, and I realized Clara wasn't telling me the whole truth. "Who did that to you?" I demanded, pointing at her wrist. She hesitated. "The board, they're trying to force me to talk." I wanted to believe her, I really did. But then my eyes caught something on her phone, which she had left face up on the table. A message popped up. "Is he buying it? Did you find the ledger?" The blood drained from my face. She hadn't found me because she was in trouble. She had found me because I was the final piece of her father's puzzle. She didn't want to destroy the Thorne legacy. She wanted to run it. "You're working with them," I breathed, backing away. Before she could answer, the window exploded. The board wasn't coming for her. They were already here, and they weren't taking prisoners. We ran, not because we were partners, but because we were both targets now. In the chaos, Clara admitted it. Her father hadn't left me the ledger out of guilt. He had hidden it in a place only I would know, a place from our past. She needed me to lead her to it, and then her partners were going to eliminate us both. "I had no choice," she screamed as we ducked behind an ancient oak tree. "They would have killed me, Leo." I yelled back, "You traded my life for yours!" But as the flashlights of the mercenaries closed in, I realized I had a choice to make. I knew where the ledger was. It was buried under the floorboards of the first apartment we ever shared, a place she had forgotten, but I had memorized. If I gave it to her, I might live. If I didn't, we both died right here in the mud.
We made it to the city. We made it to the apartment. The mercenaries were minutes away. Clara reached out her hand, her eyes full of the same beauty that had nearly destroyed me a decade ago. "Give it to me, Leo. We can use this. We can be the ones in power. No more hiding. No more Joe." I looked at the ledger. It was hundreds of pages of human suffering. It was the fuel that powered the Thorne engine. I looked at Clara. I saw the girl I loved, but I also saw the monster her father had raised. If I gave this to her, she wouldn't stop the cycle. She would just be the one turning the wheel. I made my decision. Not for her, and not for me. I didn't give her the book. I didn't give it to the board either. As the pages turned to ash in that dusty apartment, I saw the hope die in Clara's eyes. Without that ledger, she had no leverage. She was just another Thorne with a name and no power. I walked out the back door as the police, the real police, arrived, tipped off by an anonymous folder I'd mailed days before I ever saw her again. I had prepared for this day for 10 years. I'm back on the road now. Different name, different town. But sometimes when I'm sitting in a quiet diner, I see a black SUV pass by, and my heart stops. I saved her life one last time by burning that ledger, but I lost my peace forever. Because now I know, no matter how deep you bury the past, the people who love you will always find a way to dig it up. And some things are better left buried. If you felt the tension in this story, drop a legacy in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of betrayal and survival. Until next time, keep looking over your shoulder.